Welcome into a beautiful day in the crypto world in the blockchain basement. I am in a different spot than the usual blockchain basement studio here, coming to you live from a literal farm with thousands of cows on it. There's some horses around me. I got all kinds of stuff. You're going to hear farm animals. It is what it is. Welcome to the show, everyone. And huge shout out to my man Isaac on the side wings.
What's up, homie?
Who made the thumbnail, baby?
Who else made the thumbnail? None other than yours truly made this beautiful thumbnail. You know,
A work of art.
It's a work of art. It was
art.
It was amazing. It was beautiful. It was huge.
We stamped
well done.
into crypto forever as these tycoons of the next 100 years are exposed in one singular thumbnail. But it's a beautiful day in crypto, as you all know. We are absolutely ripping. Bitcoin is skyrocketing right now. Let's check it out on the charts here. So we broke a trend line and bounced perfectly off of this POC I was talking to you about specifically over the last few days. 105.5 held up like a charm. Now, I did catch a long on this position, but I did take my profit, set my take profit within this trend line just in case we didn't break above and beyond the trend line. Holy God, did we break above and beyond the trend line. So my take profit, I believe I have the card up here. I think I got out at like 107. Where is it? Oh, I didn't even put it up. I tried to post it here. It's I think it was 107.100. Is where I took the profits out. My service is a little spotty out here. So let's go back here. I got out of the trade obviously before the trend line hit. We have broken above and beyond that trend line by a pretty good degree of 1.5% in a very, very short amount of time. So Bitcoin's absolutely just ripping, making money. Spot our alt bags, our spot alt bags are making money. That's how good of a day it is, Isaac.
Oh yeah, indeed.
When our spot alt bags actually are making money along with the trades. You know what I'm saying, man? That's what we're looking for. Shout out to the chat here real quick though. I got Peter John, Brian Kuhn. When 92K? God, that's the $1 million question, isn't it? MCO, good man, making some trades out there. Kyle Watts, sufficient enough. All the peeps out here. We got Linwood Jones. We got Sack Nasty. All my people here. It's a great day, man. It's a great day. Now, when I'm looking at this chart, we're breaking strongly above this. One of the main factors in a Drew crash out earlier this week was, you want to know why I know Bitcoin's going up? It's the daily. It was the daily. And, you know, honestly, we left off the charts specifically eyeballing the money flow on Bitcoin. Now, when we left off yesterday, we were eyeballing this pretty hardcore swooping to the upside pattern on our money flow for Bitcoin. That is absolutely starting to take place. This is very zoomed in on the money flow for Bitcoin at large. Now, how it's playing out on the chart, obviously in a great positive fashion. This is on the 4-hour and you have a fresh green dot. Now, we are not overextended. We're not overhyped in this. The momentum has not moved too far to the upside to be calling for an immediate moment of correction, which is absolutely insane because we're at $110,000 just about right now, and the momentum is looking open. So when we're in this situation, you know, and what I did earlier this week was maybe shorting alts that are pumping. But you know what, Isaac, I'm a little worried about doing that right now because
the
alts have been so beat down. The alts have been so beat down, my man. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So,
totally.
Bitcoin is breaking very, very important levels right now, and it is at basically this crown that's created here. This is what kind of helped create that downward trend line, that moment of resistance that Bitcoin has kind of found itself trapped within. If we are able to break above and beyond that 100, I think Kelly had mentioned this late last week, early this week, this $110,000 spot. It's right around break above and beyond at $110,500. That is where we could see real hell break loose and shorts come in real heavy. Price starts moving up and eating up the shorts as they open up because people are sitting here in disbelief. Fear and greed is at extreme levels, right? Like we are breaking up near the all-time high for Bitcoin right now and the fear and greed index is at a 46. This is absolutely insane. So as this price is skyrocketing, the fear and greed, I mean, we're remaining in a fearful neutral position in the markets here, leaving lots of room for this parabolic run. Honestly, like, I hate saying that but honestly, we are going to see it. If we stay suppressed, this fear and greed stays low as we're breaking these $110,000 price positions and into price discovery for Bitcoin. That is where all hell in a positive manner can break loose on our alt bags. So yeah, I'm gonna have a lot of fun looking at the alts. I know that there's some good pumpers out there. I know Veteran Crypto from DeFi Crypto and Airdrops has been in on some of the main pumpers today. I got in on one of them, and one of them was actually my latest buy. I haven't been in the mood to buy a bunch of altcoins, but I did buy one specific one. That was my latest purchase. It's up about 30% today. We're starting to see that little moment where we can get that hockey stick action out of altcoins, man, because everything is so damn depressed and suppressed. Okay, we talk about price manipulators and all of these market makers manipulating, but also think about this main manipulator, which is your emotions and the average retail investor's emotions. That's the manipulator right there, because it's getting in the way. They're wondering, what's going on? Am I going to be making a mistake? Is this next move going to crush me? And what we can do is absorb the world where money is flowing and then make the best decision based on the data that we have. And you have to move with aggressiveness, and we're in a moment where altcoins haven't even, if you back up and look at altcoins at large, most of them really haven't done anything amazing yet, rather than continually build higher lows, support, and just a general foundation for their price. What we're embarking on at $110,000 Bitcoin at this fear and greed level of 46, I just have to kind of crash out on this for a moment. There is a long way to go for this market if this data is accurate, what I'm looking at, which it's almost shocking. It's almost like I'm shocked to even imagine a situation where Bitcoin is at 110K, Ethereum's stuck at $2,400, and sentiment is at a flat line. People are just numb to this experience. It's absolutely crazy. All right, so we know where the pi cycle top indicator is. I don't really need to discuss all that. But just again, this Bitcoin chart is sitting here at a very, very important moment in time, folks. So this $110,300 level is going to be a very, very exciting moment if we can see us break above and beyond this. We are starting to see shorts come into the marketplace in a bigger way. They're always here to a degree. We're going to check out the Binance liquidation maps. Liquidity obviously scooped to the upside on the 12-hour. Now, on the 48-hour, let's see if the shorts are coming to town. Not yet. They scared.
They're really scared. They don't want to get caught in the short here, and then the price still runs away towards $110,000.
Absolutely.
I don't blame them.
We've been stuck in a channel for some time, so you reasonably should be considering that. And there's a lot of people that are, I'm not one of them, but they're dying on the vine of this 92K CME gap. This 92K CME gap is a very, very sought after entry point for a lot of people that I know, a lot of people that I've talked to. And so, waiting for that, knowing that the 92K CME gap exists and that statistically we have not missed a CME gap since ETFs went into play in Bitcoin. So since the time frame of ETFs, we have literally not missed a CME gap. But we do have one at 92K. I acknowledge that, and basically I have to use stop loss and tight trading parameters to get trades off the ground, and then just trade off my basic thesis. But just knowing that there is a 92K insane washout zone that market makers would absolutely love to take advantage of. So just keep that in mind right there. Now let's look at the rest of these things here. I can't believe this. 46 People are
Fear and
neutral.
Greed Index. I know.
So crazy. Now and make sure you guys, we work hard for you guys. Give us a follow, give us a subscription, a like, a share. This is a Blockchain Basement on YouTube. There's Mr. Isaac and myself here. Of course, we're at 79,300 subscribers there. But also, take advantage of the deals. We got great partners that are hooked up with us, the engine behind Blockchain Basement. We have Arculus, cold storage device. Bam. Click the link in the description, 20% off, code BASE10. It's a great cold storage device. And also trade with us on LBank or Blowfin. Give us your links, your UID, so you can get in on the Discover Investments group, trading group, because we are in there printing money. We work really hard for you guys every single day. And you know what? All this focus in crypto, I feel like it's going to pay off in a big way, Isaac. And we're looking at green pastures this morning. Not just the green pastures out here in Colorado, but on the altcoin sector. The Coin 360 map looks beautiful. Finally, isn't that a sight to behold, my man?
Dude, that is, I'm erect. I'm erect. That looks great.
Yeah. And you see some slight pullbacks on like hype, but hype has been pumping while other things have been dumping. It kind of marches to its own tune here. Doge in the dark green, Cardano in the dark green, getting close to 60 cents. Maybe I short it. Maybe I short it. SWI up a pretty good amount. It's up to $2.88 though. Still not above that $3 level it needed to hold. Avalanche below the $20 psychological / astrological important level. It is below it. It's at $18.30 right now. Uniswap. So but in general, it's nice to see some dark green. It's been a long road of getting beat down in altcoins. And shorting any of these, of course, hyper risky. I do want to look at, I got to look at these early. I usually don't look at these too early, but you got to give credit where credit is due. I mean, Plume, Jeff and Veteran Crypto of DeFi Crypto and Airdrops, they're like, before Plume even came out, they talked to me about it. They were so early on this, which is, it has benefits and negatives. He's been able to stack it and do a lot of DeFi, earn a lot of the tokens in this range, right? And it dips and you're like, oh my God, no. And I had originally bought somewhere around 13 cents in this range. And then we lost that level. And so I really layered into this one. I kind of, my conviction was strong on it. I think that it's, a reasonable RWA project. And so I really, I didn't double down. I like doubled down on this thing at 8.5 cents, 8.4 cents. We are sitting at 11.6 cents right now. And I'm feeling great. I'm feeling really good about that conviction that I held down on Plume, and for the great work that DeFi Crypto and Airdrops does on their channel. Vetting through all of these different, because there's so many different projects that are coming out constantly, Isaac. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's one thing about it, is there's always a new project that's going on. Now, something in the similar vein of Plume is Kita. And Kita we've looked at off and on. Today, all eyes are on Kita. It is up 30% on the day, but it's got a lot of ground that it could be making up in a short amount of time. It is found it went all the way down to the original pump shelf at 43 cents in this latest pullback. Now it's already at 73 cents as this recording goes out to you live. On the yearly, this is going to be the battle zone. Basically 70 cents to 89, 90 cents is a total battle zone for Kita in price action. Battle zone meaning resistance. Battle zone meaning a little bit of a fight needed to be had to push and beyond these previous shells that have been built. But yeah, DeFi Crypto and Airdrops highlighting there's so many projects. It's insane how many projects there are. But I just have those guys a specific shout because they absolutely sniped Kita and Plume. And Plume's got a lot of ground to make up for itself, but this is what can happen if you have good conviction and you're patient enough in the altcoin sector. You compound the low entry point, you can get to that by DCAing in very, very bloody events. And so, you know, it takes conviction. It takes a little bit of extra cojones, you know, to do so. I get it. It's not the easiest thing in the world to do when your bags are going down and everything seems like it's just vaporware. And there's, you know, now there's one KOL in the world that matters, and it's Trump and whatever he says on Truth Social. But we're out here to gain more Bitcoin. And to gain more Bitcoin, I take risks. To gain more Bitcoin, I look at disruptive technology. I do a deep analysis. Then I feel comfortable talking about it publicly. I pull the trigger, and things are going well this year. You know, one thing I may want to look at is my Cardano bags a little bit more closely. That's one thing. Maybe I'll start putting those Cardano tokens to work within the Cardano ecosystem, see if they can chime up anything downhill of Cardano. But the whole goal here is to get more Bitcoin. So I'm going to be jeeting all these altcoins when they have their momentary run up against the backdrop of $150,000 Bitcoin, which I think is coming quicker than many people believe. Now, Michael Saylor coming out with the most savage, to the heart message of all time, in my opinion. Bitcoin is money. Everything else is credit.
So bullish, by the way.
I mean, I get it. He's a risk because of how much Bitcoin this guy has, but he has been a trendsetter for Wall Street and treasuries being built up and backed by Bitcoin. He's starting an absolute wildfire on Wall Street, a fever pitch for Bitcoin treasuries. He's going to be the originator, in this kind of spark will flow into treasuries. Then we're going to be looking at Bitcoin bonds in the United States. Literally hard money, Bitcoin. And you know what? Gold could be that. If they could prove the gold was in Fort Knox, if they could prove that their $10 billion at 42 an ounce gold actually still exists, or maybe it doesn't exist there anymore, and that's why they refuse to revalue it at $3,400 an ounce, because that would be a big loss. That'd be an $800 billion loss on the books rather than a $10 billion loss. Kind of a different conversation, right? Bitcoin is money. Everything else is credit. This is a lesson that I think will be looked back on as even more of a missed opportunity than not buying early Ford shares, early AT&T shares, early oil, steel shares, you know, those investments of legend that we talk about that are from a century ago. What we're looking at right now, in my opinion, 50 to 100 years from now, is going to be looked at in the exact same, if not more, exalted fashion. The trade of a lifetime, seeing Bitcoin openly available for the public while literal nation states are setting up the precedent and the need to back their currency in Bitcoin because of the loss of trust between nations across the world. Absolutely incredible time to be alive. And you guys are living through it. You know, we go through the charts and, you know, all the fun altcoins, but what we're really looking at here is the invention of sound money, the invention of sound money, the reinvention of sound money. Because at a point, there was versions of sound money. It's lost its meaning over the last few decades, maybe century. And the death of fiat is quickening. Now the system needs to adjust because of our communication abilities, my ability to bring this message to you watching this show, but also your ability in communication. That's a compounding effect. Once you start waking people up to the fact that the Federal Reserve is printing your retirement savings into oblivion, and when they start realizing that this money that they worked so hard for their whole life is melting between their fingers because of the choice of a few small, powerful groups, then they really start to tick it open. So Bitcoin is money. Everything else is credit. I think this is one of the best sayings that I have ever heard. Shout out to Michael Saylor for coming out with this, because that is really the situation we're looking at here. And it's compounded by things like this: the global debt. Everyone owes everyone. Mexico owes China, and China owes America, right? The global debt, the global Ponzi scheme has reached a $324 trillion record of global debt in early 2025, jumping by $7.5 trillion in 3 months, according to the Institute of International Finance. $7.5 trillion added to global debt in 3 months. The quickening of the collapse is what this is. As this is a statistical nod to the collapse of fiat currency into Bitcoin. Now,
so I want to see.
What's that?
I got a question for the chat. How much do you think it's going to jump by January 2026? We're at 7.5 trillion in just 3 months.
Yeah.
What are we going to jump by January 2026? I'm interested.
Yeah, I mean, give us
how
your thoughts.
Quick the collapse is like coming and what that number could possibly reach.
Now,
and Drew, I want to hear your thoughts on this too.
Well, in a collapse in the sense that it's Peter owes Paul to pay Peter and Peter's sister type situation where it's like, China could default, but what's that going to do? What are we going to do? We're going to default on them and we're not going to do trade anymore. Now that we have a global trade setup, now that we have interconnected manufacturing lines, and the true existence of a nation is reliant on flows of goods from one nation to the next, essentially at this point. You can't really, like, they would just cause a disaster and reset the system. You don't pay, you don't default on a nation state level. Either you go to war or you don't, right? Like, that's where it is. So seeing this, the rate we increased by $7.5 trillion in global debt in 3 months. There are a lot of larger implications of a deeper well that China needs to dig itself out from than we previously thought. This could actually end up being, by early 2026, around $340 trillion. Now where, who owes who, $1 gazillion, $1 quadrillion. That's where you start getting real muddy, because
that's pretty accurate there. What you said, the 340 trillion. That's what I asked Grok too, because I wanted to see like all the in-depth details of it. And it said by 2026, January 2026, between 330 and 340 trillion with public debt nearing 105 to 110 trillion.
I literally got that correct, like off the top of my dome.
Yeah, off the top of your dome.
Wow. Facts.
Yeah.
All right. Geez, that's why they call me the Druth. And you know what?
Call you the Druth.
This is what they took from us. Taco Bell commercial from 2010, a beefy 5-layer burrito was 89 cents, folks. 89 cents. Look what they have done. A beefy 5-layer burrito is now $5.36. And it's probably less food. Jesus. I just had to crash on. I mean, that's what they take from us. This also is happening in where we live. In Austell, Georgia, they're proposing a 150% increase in property taxes. Like, the disincentivization for me to buy real estate and Bitcoin becomes stronger and stronger every day. When I see the taxes, you're going to increase taxes in Austell by 150%. Really? I
want to get shot.
It's absolutely nuts. BlackRock is now sitting on 700,000 Bitcoin as well, worth $74 billion within its spot Bitcoin ETF holdings. Mind you, these holdings are with Coinbase. Mind you that the institutional players, when they do finally feel incentive to protect their upside they've already experienced on Bitcoin, but they want to go mess around with the lower level positions, the altcoins, the smaller market caps, keep in mind that this is all held, these spot ETFs and the Bitcoin within it, all held on Coinbase. So when we're looking at ecosystems, an easy pick for me to be is in Base, right? There's a larger context that I try to quantify by looking at this number. That's a lot of Bitcoin, 700,000 Bitcoin, a very, very essentially systemically important exchange at this point, Isaac. You have banks that become systemically important, like JP Morgan in our banking industry. I am of the opinion Coinbase has now become systemically important to the United States. So just take that for how you will. Now, Arizona Governor Katie Hobbs, love her. She's so great, has vetoed the state's digital asset reserve bill, HB 2324. She claimed that the bill would prevent local law enforcement from cooperating with the state on digital asset forfeiture by removing seized assets from local jurisdictions. So this is an interesting place. She's claiming that the bill would prevent local law enforcement from cooperating with the state. Basically, she's kind of worried about people maybe taking it, right? So there needs to be some talks about this. Katie Hobbs not really having faith, basically saying that it would prevent the law enforcement from cooperating directly with the state. Maybe a little bit of a disconnect there within your counties, madame. Now, here we go. Europe, Giant Unicredit will offer professional clients and in this jurisdiction a BlackRock Bitcoin ETF linked structured product with 100% capital protection at maturity. BlackRock's ETF is absolutely already global conversationally, but now we're seeing the rails for major banks here in Europe.
You are banned.
Jesus, what happened?
Robert.
Oh yeah. I mean, anytime you even see Robert at this point, it's kind of getting out of hand, Isaac. It's kind of getting out of hand.
That's okay.
Hey, do you hear Diddy's guilty on 2 of 5 charges? Let's have a listen to this. This is big. This is huge.
The first verdict.
Oh, is it muted?
On count 1.
No.
Racketeering conspiracy. How do you find the defendant not guilty? And so now they'll move on to count 2. Count 2. How do you find the defendant not guilty? That is the sex trafficking of Cassandra Ventura. On count 3, which is Mann Act transportation involving Cassie Ventura, guilty. Count 4, sex trafficking of Jane, not guilty. Count 5, Mann Act transportation of Jane, guilty. So a mixed verdict here, not guilty on.
Very interesting. Very interesting. Is this the end for the Diddy saga, or do you think there's going to be more allegations?
There has to be more. There's way more than 5 counts. There has to be way more than that.
Right?
But again, people in the chat are saying they've seen this movie before and he has powerful people in high places. So will he end up in jail? Hopefully. In prison? Hopefully. But will he? There's a chance that he walks. Yeah. Unfortunately, but there is a chance.
Yep. Absolutely. It's something. I think that this will be an ongoing allegation train, basically. We'll see how it pans out. I mean, it's probably 2 of the 5 charges. He got away with most of it. The other stuff was pretty heinous, so it looks like it's more related to traveling between states with minors, crazy shit like that, whatever the hell it is. Did you ever like his music?
No, never listened to his music. Never. Nope.
He was kind of a deal in like the early 2000s.
Yeah.
He would come out like randomly with like one thing on MTV. It was an okay song, but you're like, all right. But it never really made sense why P. Diddy was so famous to me. Now, maybe that's just me. I just never found his music that amazing. All right, now let's go on to the big beautiful bill. All right, so one big beautiful bill, all about growth. So we got a major. You might have wrote this first thing in the morning. Growth, if passed, America will have an economic renaissance like never before. It's already been happening, just in anticipation of the big beautiful bill. Deficit cut in half, record investments, cash factories, jobs pouring into the USA, yada yada. So there is something, in terms of pushing for growth and economic activity here in the United States. You do have to start that or restart certain flywheels with capital. there is that side of the equation here. In terms of the deficit being cut in half, that is a feat I don't think we are on path to see. It's not a typo, it's a code. GTO wrapped ETH. GTO wrapped ETH. That's how I see that.
Sure, that works.
I wonder what he's trying to say. So what I'm trying to say is to get the manufacturing back on its feet and to get a lot of the factories that are stagnant here in the US producing and those companies incentivized to, employ, get the systems running again. It does take an initial input of growth, but I don't think the cutting the deficit in half is something that, promising another $4 trillion in costs is going to end up doing. Game theory optimal wrapped ETH. Okay. That must be what it is. Something within the green or the big beautiful bill is it the Senate bill. We're talking about the green scam. Okay, so this is Alex Epstein. Senate fails to terminate green new scam. The Senate bill looks like it has 2027 placed in service, a cutoff for new solar and wind subsidies. But one last minute paragraph makes it worthless. Projects making a recoverable 5% of the investments in the next 12 months are exempt. So they're saying that these things have been so unprofitable, the subsidies are ending. But if a certain investment makes a recoverable 5% in the next 12 months, they become exempt. Idea of 2027 place in service cutoff was that new subsidies would actually end during the Trump administration. And this last minute cave out, Big Green has 12 months to initiate as many subsidized projects as it wants using insanely easy to meet construction thresholds. All you need to do is commit 5% of the expected project cost to buy resellable assets like solar panels. Very, very interesting kind of inside baseball is happening within the green new scam and all of these. The one thing that I will say is that this type of technology would be very useful if we could capture the energy and if we didn't lose 70% of the energy in transmission. I think that if we could fix that infrastructure, we could probably be looking at something more tangible here. But green new scam is under notice with this bill, which is something I like seeing. And here's Chuck Schumer. This is a post from Veteran Crypto. Make sure you're following him. Veteran for Crypto. I was already sold on shutting down US Aid. No need to sell me on it any further. But yeah, let's keep going. Let's have a listen to this.
Also know this is just the beginning. If Doge attacks USAID today, then you can be sure they'll move on to another target tomorrow. Who knows? Maybe it'll be the Postal Service or the IRS or even the Social Security Administration. They could be next. Or maybe our National Security Agency.
Oh, dearie my, can't someone think of the intelligence agencies, right? Can't someone please keep their funding going for the IRS, the Internal Revenue Service that takes our money by force with violence, but they say it's voluntary. And then the intelligence agencies. Oh, please don't do it. I would be really shook if that ended up happening. I don't know about you in the chat, but man, just more fun and fun, right? We have even more highlights of this USAID debacle. An NGO that used to be funded by USAID predicts disaster now that USAID is not paying them money. They say that 14 million people will die now the USAID is shut down. How will the world go on without slush funds printed fresh from the U.S. government? Absolutely insane. Now, I hear we're ripping in the crypto sector. I think I got to go back to the charts here.
109.5 on Bitcoin.
Oh, boy. Yeah, we're coming in hot and heavy. So on CoinMarketCap, we're at 109.68, just about 109.7. Ethereum at $2,500 with a 5.5% day on a $300 billion market cap. That is a big, big move. 2.5% in just the last hour. Oh, man. What up, Manawak, my man? Ethereum's got some ground to make up, and she might be trying to wake up right now, folks. That is a great looking pump for a large market cap. Absolutely delicious. Spectacular. Absolutely spectacular. Love to see it. Pat McCrotch is bringing up, maybe it's my time to short ETH. Huh? Maybe it's my time to short ETH. God, the markets are on fire here. Plume is up to 12 cents now. Stop it. Stop it. We're cooking. We're absolutely cooking. These are the days we hodl for. These are the days where we do all our due diligence. It goes into a basket of internet chaos money, and we wait. This is nice. 35% on the day for Plume. Cardano with a 9% day, getting near 60 cents. Like seeing it. Aerodrome, still, it's about 6%. Not bad. Chainlink sleepy. Chainlink sleepy. You need to wake up, Chainlink. Wake up, Morpho. Some of these good ones still useful projects, but haven't woken up like we're seeing with Plume. This is absolutely fun. Love seeing it. Isaac, I'm feeling in a good mood. I'm feeling like it's a day where we could take a gander at Bitcoin dominance with maybe a morsel of hope. Maybe.
See, well, yesterday was at what, 64%, 64.5, somewhere around there.
I believe we broke into 65, bro. Like I'm like tangibly
we
having to look.
We were up at 65.
And for anyone that's new, we got to back up here. So for anyone that's new, Bitcoin dominance is a metric. This shows how much control monetarily Bitcoin has over the rest of the market. Currently, Bitcoin holds 65.3% of the control of the entire crypto market cap. That means Bitcoin is in the driver's seat. Bitcoin is in control of the large, complete market cap of crypto. Okay, that's for anyone that's new. Sometimes I got to slow it down. So now we're sitting at 65.3%. We hit just about 66% about a week ago. But this is at a kind of an important decision moment right now. This is at a decision moment where if these wicks just end up being wicks and we see that rollover start to begin on Bitcoin dominance, dare I whisper this happening? I mean, if we see the Bitcoin dominance drop while Bitcoin retains a $120,000 value, absolute monetary chaos to the upside happens for altcoins. I will say that. I do want to go look at Wall Street's picks. These are auxiliary plays in crypto that are available on Wall Street. Circle with a nice pullback. Circle with a nice pullback. We got something here, folks. We got something. Circle is the second largest stable coin on the planet. Circle is more closely in lock and step with the American government rather than Tether, its competitor. Thus, I think Circle has a brighter future from a regulatory standpoint and widespread use and integration. The company Circle Internet Group, this stock has gone, it's gone ballistic. Let's just be honest. It's gone ballistic here. Now, what we're seeing is a little bit of a shelf. What I'm seeing is a little bit of a shelf built in a chaotic zone at about $170 to $190. That coin is sitting on right now. In this scenario, because I am of the mindset I'd like to get entry points to this, I do kind of feel like starting to DCA into this. I do feel like that, I could try out this shelf of price action. I don't want to be too heavy. I don't want to make this my only buy point. Like my back up the truck moment for this stock would essentially be at $100. That'd be my back up the truck moment. We're at 180 right now. So I can try to start, eking into it a little bit, not hammer buying, not going in with, 10% of the portfolio is being transferred into it. But I can see the beginning of my accumulation zone essentially being built up on Circle. So that's something I just had to highlight. It's something that's on my mind as far as adding to the portfolio, making sure I'm nicely diversified, and I can tell that Wall Street price action and fever pitch is hitting levels of what we knew altcoins should have been doing already. Wall Street plays like Coin, like Circle, like all of these crypto auxiliaries, especially the big ones, I really think that there's some upside there. There's some upside. All right, now let's go here. Trump says that he's going to refuse to extend the July 9th deadline for trade deals to be made with Japan. So Japan, Trump, they're still at the negotiating table, but things around Japan are happening. Other places in Southeast Asia are signing deals. This is Trump announcing that he just made a trade deal with Vietnam this morning. Details to follow. This Truth Social post happened right as the price of Bitcoin started to absolutely go ballistic this morning. I can tell that the trade negotiation conversations and all of the worries about trade being washed away by these trade deals has much more of a monetary impact on the markets than literal war at this point. And it's crazy to say that, but from a analyst point of view, from what my position in this is to absorb the macro, the geopolitical scenarios, the landscapes, and then also compare that with how the market reacts to these. And I can say this with pretty strong confidence that trade negotiations and how trade is going to be handled is affecting the markets exponentially more than war. And that is on a statistical basis from the pullbacks that I've seen related to geopolitical tensions compared to what an actual trade war does to the markets. There's a lot of data that we're dealing with now that we've gathered over the past year from the KOL from, I don't even know what planet. He is a very key opinion leader in this, like it or not, and it moves markets in a pretty big way. So interesting to see the trade deal with Vietnam buttoned up. We're waiting for finalization of the trade deal with Japan. We're also waiting on further details of the trade deal with India. These are big spots that we need to get sorted out before the markets can kind of take a breather, before the markets can be, okay, we know we're going to get our goods that they produce in these Southeast Asian locations. The books are going to look like this for the next year or two, and businesses will have a little bit of clarity. Now, the clarity between Donald Trump and Jerome Powell seems to get worse and worse. On the other hand, Trump came out and said that the Fed chair, Jerome Powell, is a literal moron. We have a moron at the head of the Fed. He's a moron. That is Trump's words. Absolutely crazy work. KOL from Down Under strikes again. And other people are taking aim at Jerome Powell as well. This is Isaac. Shout out to you for getting me this added piece of information, which is very, very key. Right before we went live, everyone say thanks to Isaac for this. Good job, buddy. Good job.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
There's great context here. So we have a battle of the balls going on between Trump's balls and Jerome Powell's balls. Okay. Battle of the balls. But someone else has joined this battle against Jerome Powell. And this person has got some sway. Today, the U.S. Director of the U.S. Federal Housing and Chairman of Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, William Pulte, issued the following statement. To condense what I just said, this guy is a big fucking deal when it comes to American markets. American Federal Housing and Chairman, Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac. I am asking Congress to investigate Chairman Jerome Powell, his political bias, and his deceptive Senate testimony, which is enough to be removed for cause. Jerome Powell's $2.5 billion building renovation scandal stinks to high heaven, and he lied when asked about the specifics before Congress. This is nothing short of malfeasance and is worthy of for cause action to be taken place. As Senator Cynthia Lummis has said, he, being Jerome Powell, made a number of factually inaccurate statements to committee regarding the Fed plush private dining room and elevator, the skylights, the water features, the roof terrace, the palace that the Federal Reserve works out of, and that this is typical mismanagement behavior and don't bother me attitude that Chair Powell has always shown. Chairman Powell needs to be investigated by Congress immediately. So these are some serious words from a very, very big part of U.S. finance. Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac are Goliaths when it comes to the $120 trillion residential family housing market, a small little market at $100+ trillion here in the United States. This dude calling for actual just cause of removal of Jerome Powell. And now within this, where could this take us? Well, let's talk about it. Let's talk about where this could take us. So the Federal Reserve is not a federal organization. It is a private organization that neither is federal nor has reserves, but its name is Federal Reserve. It's got a chair of members that are deciding factors on who can lead the Federal Reserve. That person in charge right now is Jerome Powell, who, by mind you all, and myself included, was appointed by Donald Trump in Trump's previous administration. So we have a body that is not governmental, that is made up of board members. Now, these board members can be influenced, but the only thing that influences them and their decision is their pockets. When we talk about the realization that the leaders of $120 trillion market here in the U.S. are calling for the removal of this chair, this is actually, in my opinion, going to have some sway on Jerome Powell's future. This, in my opinion, has a greater internal effect on the powers that be than even Trump calling for the removal. Because Trump's just that crazy, super tan, rich uncle that's always yelling at people from across his lawn, right? From his beach chair. Trump is the guy, it's like, all right, you know, he's hyperbolic. I love him. That's crazy Don, you know. But this guy, Pulte, is not of that same caliber. This guy is the director of a massive, massive industry. And I think that his words and this highlight and this further confluence from Cynthia Lummis might actually turn into something within the halls of chatter at the chair's decision. Who's going to chair the actual Federal Reserve? I think this actually is going to have some sway. Shout out to Eleanor Tourette, friend of the channel. She officially became a citizen of the U.S. today. Everyone, go give her a follow here if you don't already, at Eleanor Tourette on X. She's a great journalist. I think she actually still works for Fox. I might be mistaken. But she's a great journalist, always getting the scoop there. And now SEC chair, current chair of the SEC, the Securities and Exchange Commission, Paul Atkins, is talking about tokenization is an innovation, and his entire goal is to make things transparent. You know, I think Paul Atkins has been pretty open and vocal about being pro-crypto. He's previously held high positions at the SEC. He's very, very respected in those halls. And he also brought up the likes of Hester Peirce, who is second or third in charge at the SEC at this point. So as things sit right now, from a regulatory standpoint, we are all systems a go in the United States to start integrating and to start hybridizing our system with cryptocurrency. And it's because we have players in the background that have opened those gates for these regulators, such as Paul Atkins, who's now leading the SEC. Quick highlight there. It does look like systems are go for this larger expansion of crypto. And Bybit has officially launched its Bybit EU affiliate here, a fully MiCA compliant platform that basically European users can openly access within the EU nations. And this will offer the regulated access to over 450 million residents of 29 countries. It's a pretty good integration. 450 million residents is quite a bit. The entire population of the United States is under that level. And EU, it is, you have a lot of first world countries, a lot of strong economies with investors in them that are now going to have regulatory compliant offerings of crypto through Bybit, which, I think the main thing takeaway here is because obviously I work with LBank and I love trading and buying. LBank, Blowfin, and occasionally I use Coinbase even. Seeing companies have to kind of change up who they are, the internal workings of the exchange platform itself to be MiCA compliant is something that, can be expected. Markets, this is not a completely global economy, and you're going to have nuance within each different government on what is and is not acceptable. We're looking toppy right now. David Middleton says, do I dare go in and short it? This is a tasty price action day, Mr. Isaac. These are days. These are days, baby. I'm feeling good. Made my couple percent in Bitcoin this week already, and I'm, it's just, that's the goal all the time. Just a bit more Bitcoin, to trade my tether for the Bitcoin. Got my Bitcoin watch. Got the altcoins I'm planning to jeet into Bitcoin. It's all Bitcoin, baby. Now, where we're sitting in terms of the charts, we're sitting at $109,300. Very, very intense daily candle that was. Wow. Let's just give this one a measurement here. Quick measure. 4% daily candle. Yeah, and we do have more aggressive ones like the escape one. Remember the drawing that I had here? I'm still hopeful for a situation like this where, we come up here and we come back down, prove this spot as support, and then get a move to break out of here. But by all rights, I mean, this could be liftoff moment. It's just I'm keeping an eye on this trend line just in case we have to come back down and retest that top there. So I'm keeping an eye on this. Closed my trade early in the morning this morning, and caught a good chunk of that move. So I'm feeling great about it. And the alt bag is absolutely going nuts. Ethereum's been looking good too. We had ETH being added to SharpLink Gaming's treasury. They're added 9,400 Ethereum to the treasury, raising the holdings to 200,000 Ethereum right about, and earning 220 ETH. Holy God, in staking since 2025. So now the value of staking. So this is interesting, isn't this, Isaac? So
Indeed.
You have the Bitcoin, the Bitcoin treasuries and those yields and things of that nature. But now SharpLink Gaming and probably a couple other of these companies are going to start highlighting their staking rewards from ETH. This might be a big move here. This might be something we're underestimating here. The peaking up. Hey, I'm earning all this Ethereum, staking it too. And as the price of Ethereum, I mean, if we see it return to 5K, what's the fever pitch going to look like then? This is how backwards the market works. Like, you have something that's a good price. You can DeFi on Ethereum is incredible. And once these companies that are using, there are now companies using Ethereum as its treasury. When they start posting about those gains from what the staking can offer in Ethereum, who knows what kind of fever pitch, because the market's so backwards. When Ethereum does start getting to 4 or 5K, then that 220 Ethereum is going to be hitting a lot heavier. And that's where this kind of a, compounding factor come. I love this post from Crypto Stevo. He likes a useless coin. And so I went in and just read to this, what many people think about useless coin. It's literally every single holder knows exactly what they're buying, a completely useless coin. There's no promise of utility like most altcoins, no promise of a movement or cult like meme coins, no feel-good nonsense, no promises of anything whatsoever. Price go up, still a useless coin. Price go down, still a useless coin. I think this is actually kind of hilarious. Shout out to him. Probably will go to zero at some point, but by all rights, it should, because it's a useless coin. Now, Osprey and Rex and their Solana staking ETF has gone live. We are seeing the beginnings of these staked Solana ETFs go live. Mr. Isaac, the Solana ecosystem might benefit greatly from this. We're talking auxiliaries of Drift, man. I was looking at Drift yesterday. Was it Drift at 30 cents or something like that?
Let's double check here. Drift is at 39 cents.
Let's see. Let's go swimming around the Solana ecosystem, because we're seeing the rumblings, the beginnings of these staking ETFs going live. Drift. Whoa. Okay, this is a moment where it's like, am I a sicko and I just buy Isaac's pain and then I sell?
Well, I'm still up, so fuck off about my pain.
Yeah. But I mean, seriously though, do I buy this? This is a total reset. Like, this thing released at 27 cents. This thing released at 27 cents. I wonder where Marinade is. We're checking out the goodies within the Solana ecosystem in this staking regard. We got Marinade as one of the main landing pads for a lot of staking on Solana. Still asleep, hasn't pumped from the day. Interesting. Unknown. I might have to take some of that tether I won last night and get some of this. I might have to do that because we do like this Solana staking ETF going live. We have Ethereum treasuries bragging about their gains now. You know, this staking aspect, this constant yield, this offering of crypto to give DeFi to people across the world, and they don't have to be banks to get it. That's about to be realized, bro. That's what we're getting into here.
Crazy.
This is AI XPD kind of consolidating the Solana ETF movements over the last 24 hours. SSK became the first US staking ETF. 55 tokenized stocks live on Jupiter and Radium. First federal bank enables Jito Sol. 7.5% staking on Robinhood. Oh man,
Jesus,
that's crazy. Because oh my gosh. All right, and 19 billion in weekly DEX volume. So major uptick in decentralized exchange usage by users getting in there. The fever pitch is starting once again. Terminal doesn't sleep anymore. This is some great, concise data to keep in mind where things are going here. Now, the Cardano ETF is actually sitting on a 90 percentile for being approved. So Cardano being included in the ETF fever pitch for these altcoins. Will it absolutely skyrocket price? Maybe have a little bit of a nice move initially, but it's going to be a slow. I think it's going to take a minute. There's going to be a lot of ETFs for altcoins hitting. I think we're more reliant on those rate cuts in September, later on in 2025, and also we are reliant on Bitcoin hitting parabolic levels of gains, because we have to remind ourselves this. The altcoins really don't see their day in the sun until Bitcoiners have fully danced on top of the moon and had that massive moment, and then they start snooping around. What's this number 5? What the hell is this number? Maybe a little bit. That's where we see the chaos begin in altcoins. That's essentially, from a very psychological level and just historic manner, that is what we see with altcoins. Pepe, this is James Wynn saying that Pepe is looking good, breaking out of a fallen wedge. Pepe is one I don't like fading in terms, and I in aggregate I'll fade memes, but I can't discount the strength of like Pepe, Dog, and Doge. Those are strong communities. I get it. You guys are here. Let's check out this chart. So this is the yearly for Pepe, in aggregate down on the year, but you know what? This is tempting, Isaac.
This
is tempting. I'm being tempted by Pepe, the meme coin, and that's where things are about to get crazy. So, Pepe, really haven't missed out on much. If you had stayed out of Pepe all year, and from the looks of it, these local movements, I think Pepe, Dog, Doge, these strong meme communities are going to see new all-time highs, which probably would amount to quite a bit of a movement on Pepe's price. Let's go ahead and check this out. Let's check out what that move actually would be. Pepe's a very old one. Like it's just like this meme that like literally won't die. So we're gonna check it out. So breaking the all-time high is 170% move. I think that this is something within reason for when altcoin speculation starts kicking up again. At least tap in this previous high. That'd be 170% move. Not bad. Oh yeah, God, we got to check out Camino. Thank you for the reminder. Marinating Camino. Main spots for Solana. DeFi, little yield. Camino Finance coiled up like a tight tiger. 60 cents. My shopping list is getting kind of long. Here. Yeah, Camino looks good. Camino looks really good. I like marinating Camino quite a bit. What's that, Isaac?
That was about drift.
Oh, that's drift. Oh my God.
So I forgot that I swapped all my graphene out for USDC on base. So I flipped it back over to Sol. And
okay.
Spot drift because I can.
Oh, so you had gotten out of graphene?
Yeah, I completely forgot that I got out of it.
Oh, okay. Well, and you probably don't know what market cap you got out of it, do you?
No, it was probably it was above 40 though. I know that it was around like 50. So
okay. Well, you know what? You don't win them all. You don't win them
No,
all.
you don't
Mr.
win them
Isaac.
all.
This is crazy, man. Things are really starting to heat up. I'm gonna have to be watching these charts pretty darn closely here. In this local range, I'm gonna go ahead before we leave. We're gonna set some levels. So in the 12-hour, let's hop on over to the liquidation levels here. A little washout down to 1083 wouldn't hurt in terms of current price action, but this is absolutely a shelf. And there's liquidity above us, literally at $110,600. Shorts are starting to stack in. It's dead man's land right now in terms of where price is. I never like chasing giga, pumps in terms of longs. One thing I might think about is potentially finding a couple altcoins to pick on. Potentially. But this price action, man, I mean, like the top end of this range right here, 107.5, and then the POC still sitting right at around $105,500. So essentially I gotta watch 106, 107.5 for new entry points in terms of longs on Bitcoin. Shorts, be careful. I could understand why you'd want to short this market. It is my general thesis that we'd come back down and prove our strength on top of this trend line here. And that would land right at about like the 107.5, 107.9 area. But I'm being careful here. I'm being careful. I'm kind of worried about shorting the market right now, Isaac. Not going to lie.
Yeah, that's fair.
Not going to lie. A little worried about shorting the market. Just in case, just coming off a big win. Don't want to lose it all immediately. You got to make sure to take your profits and be careful about it. But as it sits right now, I could make reason out of a comeback down and prove about 108,000, 107.5 is our support zone at the top end of this old trend line, and then start moving up from there. But shout out to everyone that got in on the trades. That's in on our trading Discord. I saw some major wins being posted in there. It's a beautiful day. We're posting wins. Our altcoin bags are pumping. Be grateful. I love and appreciate every single one of you out there for joining me on the show today. Mr. Isaac, great additional context with Pulte
Always.
out of that housing division. Major sway that guy's got on Jerome Powell. So we're going to be watching this very, very closely. I love and appreciate every single one of you out there. I'm going to go eat some breakfast and hang out with the kids on my trip out here to Denver. I'll see you guys real soon.